What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Edison Club podcast. I do want to apologize for being a little inactive the past couple weeks. Myself, as well as the entire Edison Club team, we were really going hard prepping for YCS Raleigh. So that's basically where most of our time had been going throughout the course of the past couple weeks, trying to come up with side decking plans, refine our deck builds. And one of us has actually kind of dipped their toes back into advanced format, that being my co-host Justin Morgan. And I'm definitely excited to hear about his story at his first advanced tournament in like of this size in a couple years. So Justin, do you want to go first and kind of tell us about your YCS experience?
Yeah, so I quit Edison. No, I'm joking. Um, so I decided to play advanced after not playing for a couple years. Really, I would go to locals once every week or so and dabble in it a little bit here or there. But I just wanted to play something a little bit different for the time being, since Tanker really hadn't picked up a whole lot. And so I played my favorite deck in advanced format, being Heroes, and took it to the YCS. Not really expecting to do well, hoping to do well, but like with there being like a tier zero meta right now, not expecting to do so. But to my surprise, I actually ended up going 6-3 that day, so I was only 1 point away from making day two. So pretty happy with myself, pretty happy with the experience. I know I had the mindset of when I went into the tournament, I was going to play all 9 rounds regardless of how I did, just so I could just see how far I could make it, kind of thing, and just see like if I would come out like with a winning record, that kind of thing. So I already expected to go into like a grueling day. I've never played. I've never made it to day two of a YCS. So I've never like really had that like fatigue at the end of the day. I've always lost two and dropped or whatever. Then did side events or just play the Ultimate Time Wizard or whatever. So um, I actually had some like beef jerky and cheese and like pretzels with me to eat on all day. So that's pretty much what I ate all day. But I started off the tournament actually 5-0, and I don't. It just seemed like everything was going for me. It would be like opponents would brick, set a card pass kind of thing, or I would just be able to break boards, and it was insane too. And I hardly did any play testing against the meta. Of course, like for those familiar with it, like Snake Eyes is the best deck in the format. There's different variants of the deck too that people play. There's probably about 2 to 3 viable variants, three that I know of for sure. So um, I did build my side deck to be a little bit broad, a little bit generic because the ban list had just happened. Then let's just come back to three. So that's another big reason why I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to play advanced, because I think it's been 17, 18 years since Stratus and Malicious have both been at three on the ban list. So that really did intrigue me. But I really didn't know I was going to play against. I just assumed that Snake Eyes would be the best deck still. Then I also assumed I would see like a lot of rogue decks, incorporating cards coming off the ban list like Colossus and Protos and Kieran and things of that sort. So um, going into the event, round one, I 2-0'd my opponent. It was on Full Under Rees. I hate that deck. There's a card called Dimension Shifter. For those who only play Edison, Dimension Shifter is a card that when you can discard it to the graveyard when there's no cards in the grave in your grave, and for the next 2 turns, any card sent from or any card that goes to grave is banished instead. So that really hurts the hero matchup. But thankfully, neither game my opponent drew into that card, so I was able to actually game one, Change of Hearts, the boss monster of the deck, Impin, and then just go from there and go combo. Because what that card does, it negates face up special summon monsters. It's an attack position, so really hurts the links and everything in my deck and stuff like that. So 2 out of that match. Then round two, I played against Mega Capital G, Randall Jordan. Shout outs to him. He's a really cool dude. Love his content, his history stuff especially. Um, but he was playing Runic Stun, which I did expect to run into because I know stun decks typically pop up, and you guys know this. Whenever there's like a tier zero deck, usually you'll see a pop up of stun decks too in the format as well, to sort of counterbalance those. And like, hey, if you're not making the game fun for me, I'm not gonna make it fun for you either. So he was on Runic Stun. I won the die roll that match as well. Game one, set up my usual board, won that. Then game two, funny story. There's this card called Card Scanner, and I don't remember right off what it does. I believe that you call the card on the bottom of your deck, or you call a card type, monster, spell, or trap, and this is for you and your opponent. And if it's on the bottom of the deck, you get to add it to your hand if you call it correct, and your opponent gets to add it to their hand. If it is anything else, it gets added to the top of the deck. So my whole hand was a bunch of normal summons, right? I couldn't do anything like Stratos, Vion, didn't have any extenders, didn't have anybody play through boards. And I know that Runic Stun can at least negate, my normal summon. So I was like, well, this might as well be a game three. Well, he played Card Scanner, and my bottom card was actually Fusion Destiny, which is a great starter for my deck. So he ended up adding that to my hand. And then he played a card called Runic Tip, which searches for another Runic card, but banishes the top card of my deck, which happened to be another Stratos, another normal summon. And then he summoned a card called Inspector Border, which is just pretty much like a floodgate. And then for turn, I drew into Infinite Impermanent. So I was just able to play through that and win that turn.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was really cool interaction. Never going to happen again, probably, but thanks to Card Scanner and Runic Tip, my opponent played, I was actually able to win. So, my son just busted in the room. Then round three. Wait a minute, buddy. I'll play in a minute. I'm talking. Wait a minute. Then round three, I played Snake Eye Fire King, which is one of the variants, probably the better variant of the Snake Eyes deck, and I was just able to get Dark Law on the field. I won the die roll. I won the die roll the first 4 rounds of tournament, so which is really cool. So I 2-0'd the Snake Fire King game 2. He set Solemn Judgment. I had a normal summon in the hand that had a hard poly. I knew that I figured the set was like Infinite Impermanent, so I baited it out with a normal summon. It turned out it was Solemn Judgment, so then I just activated Poly from hand, and with him having nothing else on field, it was pretty much game from there. That's another reason why I played 2 Polys too, is because I just wanted to be able to have some kind of extension, have a way to get into my main combo line if my Poly Search was stopped, which is the normal summon that I summoned that turn. Round 4, I played against Polunderies again, did drop Dimension Shifter, but I do... With certain hands, I can play around it, and it just so happened I had one of those really good hands where I was able just to establish big bodies and just win that turn. And then round 5, I played against a deck called Voiceless Voice. I lost the die roll, lost game 1, and then I just won game 2 and 3 from there because I am familiar with how to play that deck and how to play against it. So going into round 6, I was feeling pretty good. I go against the guy that actually got... he was undefeated in Swiss after 11 rounds. He was undefeated in Swiss. And so I'm glad I lost to him overall. I'm glad that's the person I lost to first. But he played pure Snake Eye. I made a mistake. In hindsight, I was already starting to get sleepy. I wasn't thinking about it. And I played into a common... Sorry.
That's okay.
I played into a card called Relinquished Anima, which it can take a monster in a zone adjacent to it or in front of it. And I summoned a 7,000 body to that zone, and he took it and then proceeded to link climb. So I lost that. I was pretty distraught, but I'm like, you know what, guys? I got 12 points. I just need 7 more to get to day 2, and I have 4 more matches or 3 more matches. So I was like, I'm feeling pretty good that I only have to win 2 more. So going into another round, it was round 7. It was actually on the side stream table, which is pretty cool. And the judge came over and was like, Konami's keeping an eye on you guys. You might be up on the table here next round. Just, play your best, whatever. I'm like, that's pretty cool. A hero deck. Maybe they'll want to, show 3 militia. So I got to win this. Well, I set up a turn 1 board of Dark Law. And it's another interruption. We had Infinite Impermanence to get past the Dark Law. I didn't have a great hand, and I lost game 1. Game 2, I set up an incredible board. But going back to advanced format, a lot of the reasons people don't play is because of overpowered cards. I had a great board set up, and I was hit with a card called Evenly Matched, with banishes all the cards on the field face down, with the exception of 1. So I kept Dark Law. Was like, okay, well, if I can just keep this card on the field, And then, I use my Destroyer Phoenix Forces effect that I have it back next turn. I was like, I'm still in good shape as long as he doesn't have infinite impermanence. So he set a card and passed. I'm like, this is awesome. I can win next turn. I get my DPE back. I have 2 fusion monsters. He activates Super Poly in the battle phase. And Super Poly is just an overpowered card in any format you play it in. It's good in Edison. It's good in Tengu. It's good in Advance. So I lost on stream, but I'm like, you know what? I just have to win the next 2. I got this. So round 8, I played against the deck called Purely, which is like a these decks. They end on this big towers. He ended on this card called Cashteria Fenrir, which is just like it's an additional interruption. When your opponent activates a monster effect, it can banish a card face down. Opened up Change of Heart. I love that card. Took his Fenrir.
Nice.
His Purely had like 2 quick effects to like bounce cards back. I had summoned the Neos Wingman, which can't be returned back to the extra deck, so it can't be bounced. And then like he activated it like on DPE and something else, and I was able just to like bait out the negates. He had no follow up, and I had like 2,300 attack bodies on board. So I was just able to win that, and I was like feeling really good. I'm like, look, I just have to get 1 more point to make it to day 2. I had 18 points at that time, and I was like, man, even if this next one's a draw, I'll make day 2. So go to play this guy. He's playing this deck called Kashira. He opens Dimension Shifter game 1 and game 2, and I didn't have any kind of like plays to play around it. So big sad. I was 1 point away from making day 2, but overall, I was really happy with how I played and how the deck performed. So just ready for Indianapolis.
Yeah, you did so good to not play advanced in like over 2 years and then go 6-3. Like that's almost like unheard of. So even though you didn't make day 2, I don't think that anyone out of our group, had they picked up advanced and played it for like a month like you have, I don't think anyone would have done any better. I think that you did a fantastic job, and I think that should definitely give you some confidence going into the next one.
I tell you what really helped me out a lot too is playing Edison. And I think this is good advice for anybody that is struggling with advanced, that wants to try out Edison first. Since it is a simpler format, of course, there's a lot of intricate interactions. I'm not saying by any means it's an easier format, but there's not as many mechanics, so it's easier to learn. I feel like that if people start out with that and then move on to advanced, I feel like those players often fare better than players coming from advanced into Edison and thinking they can just pick up the game, because that's not the case. And so becoming pretty good at Edison the past couple years, I started really doing good this past year, getting tops and stuff. That really helped out with like gameplay for advanced and this overall learning, like when to commit cards, when not to, when to change the game state, when not to, and things like that. And I've also slowed down my playing too. When I first started playing, like, dude, I was just throwing cards down all the time. And start to slow down and just, read the field and read my opponent and just take my time and everything. And it's crazy that it's taken me this long to get there. But Edison and Tengu and all that kind of stuff really has helped out with me, I guess, getting better at advanced right now. So
Yeah, and
yeah, I'm pretty.
all of those
Man, I'm
formats
pretty.
require you to have to know how to play after turn 2. And a lot of times when you watch advanced players play, it's like when it gets to like turn 3, turn 4, they just like fall apart. Like they know the turn 1 combo, but like when they get to like in the middle of the game, like they don't know how to navigate certain board states.
So a lot of hero decks I've seen online, and I've played these kinds too, is they'll use all the resources turn 1 to set up this big board and not have any follow-up turn 2 with the exception of DPE, which, is their self-recurring monster. But by that point, like, you don't have any power plays. You've already used your polymerization. You've already used your miracle fusion. You've already used your boss monsters, and you're surviving on 1 card alone at this point. And a lot of decks are built to, like, now there's a lot of hand traps, board breakers. A lot of times they're not going to just pick up their card to scoop unless they don't draw great hands. Like, they're going to be able to live that turn, and like, you give us at a point now especially after the last ban list, like, you're going to get to like turn 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Most likely. I think when I played out of all 28, no, sorry, 16, 17, 18 games that I played, one time my opponent picked up their cards and said, "Let's go to the next game."
Yeah.
So I built my deck in a way to where, like, okay, I want to set up a good board turn one, but I'm going to build my deck in a way on the clapback for turn three. I'm going to win. And so I put, two polymerizations. I put a second Neos Wingman in the extra deck, and I played to where, like, I'm either going to lose a die roll and win going second, and use all my resources to push for a game that turn, or I'm going to win the clapback.
Yeah.
And it worked out really good for me, the way I built the deck and everything. And I really haven't seen any decks online, and Heroes is pretty cut and dry. I mean, a lot of the decks are, it's cookie cut formula, but I did add a few, texts into it, like Change of Heart, which is really, really good, and second DPE in the extra, which not a lot of hero players do, and a second Neo Swingman, which I haven't really seen that around anywhere yet. So I built the deck to what I thought would be good, how it should be played in the new format, and I don't know, man, I struck gold with it. So that's all I can say.
Well, once again, hats off to you. Very good
Thank you,
job.
thank you.
And I look forward to seeing what you end up doing in the future with Advanced.
Yeah,
So,
so I got a VIP qualifier Saturday that I actually decided I'm going to. So
very
I'll keep you
nice.
guys updated.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that you end up winning. It'd be nice to get the first 2 round buys at your next event. So, next up, we can head on over to the Ultimate Time Wizard tournament. And if you watched Wednesday's video about the vlog and everything about how all that went, or was that today? Was that today?
That was today.
That was today. That was supposed to be uploaded on Wednesday. So I
Yeah,
apologize,
actually,
but
I
if
watched
you,
it at work, so I know it was today.
yeah, for some reason I thought it was supposed to be uploaded on Wednesday, but whoops. So anyway, if you watched Thursday's video, you basically know how my tournament experience went. But Austin, how did your tournament experience go as far as the Ultimate Time Wizard?
As the players go, it was really fun. It was really fun hanging out with you guys. I played a lot of real respectful people that was really kind. I decided to take Value Turbo this time, which is probably the first time I've played it in Edison. I played Black Wings for the longest time. And I just wanted to go in and I really wanted to do good this tournament. So I just played a super consistent build. I didn't quote unquote tech anything, as people play value say, they'll be like, oh, I teched Icarus or Chaos Sorcerer. I have this game breaking deck and they just changed one card. But I just played super consistent, 3 Ryko, 2 Hamster, and in your normal value lineup. And I played Black Wings game one, what I thought was Black Wings. And I actually lost game one on a misplay. And then I won games 2 and 3, but it turned out that he was playing like a really weird hybrid version of Black Wings with like Armageddon Knight, Plague, 2 Greffers, Necro Gardena, 2 Caius. I don't know how he made it work because there was probably like 30 monsters in the deck.
Wow.
It is kind of strange to me. But like I said, he beat me game one, so I mean, hats off to him. And then unfortunately, round two, I had to play a friend, Kiefer Dow, on some GVs. And we had really good games. He misplayed game one, and I ended up beating him. I think I psyched him out because I literally told him to play to make, and he just didn't make it. I think it psyched him out. He literally could have made Heraclinos win the game because the only card I could have top decked to win the game was Rhoda for a Dark Grepper, and he literally could have negated it because he had 2 cards in hand, and it just kind of psyched him out. But literally on the whole day, I think I played 3 value, 2 GBs, one. It was one of your friends. He's playing like Light Sworn ships or something like that. I'm not for
Yep.
sure what the deck was.
Yep. That's Bryce. He is a watcher. Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude.
And the rest were Black Wings. So going into round 3, I actually played your friend, who was really nice. At first, I thought he was on Light Sworn
Yeah.
because game one, I was like, oh, I've been through the gauntlet, playing Light Sworn or Christia Sworn. And then he looked at me and said, this isn't what your friends play. And I was like, what does he mean by that? And I couldn't believe he told me. And then, game 2, I ended up finding out it was like the ship build or whatever. It threw me off guard, but I was able to 2-0 him. And then I ended up playing Derek. and Derek beat me. Unfortunately, we were playing the mirror match. We went to game 3, and it was just he just played really well. Hats off to him. It kind of stunk that all 3 games he had gores, and that's just really hard to overcome sometimes. But he outplayed me. I don't think gores would have decided the game too much in game 3, but game 2 I felt like it did. And then after that, I played a Blackwing player, and I think he beat me as well. And then for the last round of the day, round 6 or whatever, I played another Blackwing player, and I 2-0'd him. So just a ton of Blackwing, ton of IU. I felt like that's all I really played. And then me and you both were X2, so we decided that we were going to go the next day and just play it out and see how things went. And then I sit down beside Blackwings, and the guy just 2-0'd me. I mean, he just beat the brakes off me. I don't even think it was really a contest.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he was from Team Littleman.
Okay.
Really
Yeah.
there.
Shout out to Team Little Man.
Yeah, I mean, they are really kind people, really good players. And I didn't show up in that game. I felt like, I went first, and I felt like I was going to win because I had like Bottomless and a Ryko, and he had Whirlwind, Kalute, and it was just like a downhill spiral from there. I mean, if you can't like stop Whirlwind, it gets hard. And he played around the Bottomless so well, and had Icarus, I think, just passed Icarus me and just blew me out of the water. He made all the correct plays, all the right reads, and it was just kind of an eye opener on some things I need to change for my side patterns and stuff. But overall, just a really good tournament. All the players were really kind. I have no issues with the players, but something I do take issue with is the way these tournaments are being ran. And it's just kind of frustrating because I just feel like they're never on time. And I feel like the way they run them, like they had us just going up to the judges after our round 1 and telling them if we won or lost. They weren't even doing match slips to start off with. And that was just so bad. That was so unorganized, and that creates so much confusion and a chance for people to cheat, honestly. Because I was like, what if somebody goes up and tells them that they won when they really lost?
Yeah.
So I mean, that was kind of
these events are not like when we get there on Friday, and actually, yeah, so we went by on Friday. We get there on Saturday, and I go up to the public events table, and I'm like, hey, is there check-in for the Ultimate Time Wizard? And they say, no, you don't have to check in. And every time someone asked me, hey, do we have to check in? I was like, go to the public events table and ask them, because I do not trust them that they will give me accurate information. So if nothing else, if there's 40 people that get a round 1 lost because they didn't check in, we can go over there and be like, hey, you told all of this to us that there's no check-in. We're all here. You're fixing this, instead of it just being like one person. Because Konami has like this thing where they'll just be like, oh, well, I'm sorry, you can kick rocks, like you'll be fine. But I was just like, I had it in my head. I'm like, if it's enough of us, what are they going to do? If like everyone in unison is like, you told us there's no check-in, fix this. So that's going to be my approach on literally everything that comes to these Konami events like that, is like, the more people you can get to like overpower the one person like running the event, like eventually they'll give into the pressure and they'll fix it. Where if it's just like one person, they're just going to tell you to kick rocks, they can't do anything. But it's you go into an event like this and you feel a lot of anxiety already, just because of the nature of how poorly these are ran.
It's just so sad that it has to be like that. Just like, I think this is the earliest one starting. They said we were going to start at 11. I believe we started at 11:30, 11:45ish.
Yeah.
But Richmond, YCS Richmond, it was supposed to start at 11, and I don't think we started until what, 1:30 that day.
Yeah, I think so. It was pretty late.
I mean, it's never organized. They try to cram so much into one day, and then Konami's just so money hungry. I mean, they could literally divide this stuff up and still make their money. I mean, the people that play Advanced, some of them would like to play Edison, but they're more devoted to Advanced. So I mean, these Ultimate Time Wizard tournaments could be bigger if they started on like a Friday or something, or had their own weekend.
Yeah,
But it's just,
and what they still haven't realized, like, people say like, oh yeah, Ultimate Time Wizard, haha, this is a side event. And sure, maybe it's labeled as a side event, but like no one flies across the country to go play in Speed Duel or Attack of the Giant card or regional flights. Like that's a tournament where people are going there specifically for that tournament. And the fact that it is only top 8 because it's like quote unquote Konami's policy, that's just bullshit in my opinion. There's no reason why, like, sure, maybe it's their side event policy, but it shouldn't be labeled as a side event if they're getting that many players consistently.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Richmond, and they told us top 16 just to go back on it. And,
Yeah.
everybody thought, top 16, and there was so many people devastated. I felt really bad for the people that got 9th through 16th because, they thought they were safe. And then
Yeah,
the
they
final,
literally stuck around the whole day to play. And another thing that's like a whole rant about this is the fact that if you drop, you do not get your tickets. And after me and you had lost on day 2, after already being there when we really didn't have to be, we were essentially playing for tickets at that point. We would have had to have stuck around probably another 5 hours to get my tickets, and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that. That's actually insane.
yeah, it's just not worth it. I mean, I'd rather be at home with my family than I am to wait for them because they got to wait till top 8 gets played out. And then after then, it's usually they got to do pictures and everything with the prize cards, and then they'll pass out the tickets.
Yeah, like at
And
Richmond, they had concluded the entire event was over. James Ark and Tom Mack and Ernie, they had already gotten their giant cards. The event was done. They'd already taken the pictures. It was an hour after that before we ever got our tickets.
And my next rant is these judges, like, they don't act like people sometimes. Like, they act like they're too much on their the hierarchy, I guess, however you want to say. But you go up to them with a question, and they're just like, some of them are cool, and some of them just lose their cool.
Yeah.
Like, no respect for the players, no respect for the game. They try to like strut their authority, and it's just like, I'm just trying to be kind and ask you a question, and here they are just being smart with you. Like, we don't know. We're trying to figure out what's going on. I know they're under a lot of pressure and stress, but if you can't handle it, you don't need to be in that position.
Yeah, I was watching Austin play against Nick Trudden, and there was a mandatory effect of Christia going to the top of the deck missed. So I naturally said something because it's currently an illegal game state. And one of the judges, not a judge we know, had the audacity to tell me to stop interfering with the game state. And the person that I am now, I'm not like a back down runaway person. I'm just like, when the chips are down, like, fuck this game. Like, you're not going to disrespect me. And I was like, I wouldn't have to do this if you just did your job. And I was just like, you can ban me. I'll drop from the tournament right now. We can go have a discussion if you want. Like, I'm the kind of person, like, if you respect me, I will give you my utmost respect. But the minute you disrespect me, I'm just going to match you and give you the same energy. Like, and I don't care who you are. Like, you have no right to disrespect me.
Oh, I'm the same way. And I mean, some of these judges, they have a negative mindset like that. Like, they're there for the wrong reasons, and it makes what's supposed to be fun a little bit worse. And then on top of that, you add the stress of not knowing what's going on half the time because Konami just leaves you in the dark. So you're like, you don't know what to expect. Is it top 8? Is it top 16? Are we starting at 11? Starting at 1? This time we done a day 2, but at Richmond we done only a day 1. So it's like every time it's different.
It's different. Yeah, it's
You don't
different. Like, that already, like, just gets under my skin. And maybe it's where I'm like severely ADHD. Like, I don't like when things aren't like planned out, like down to a T. But then that kind of gets me irritated. And then, when the judges are kind of doing their thing, like, I just can't deal with the disrespect kind of thing, I guess. I don't deal with it well. Like, a few years ago, I would have just been like, oh, I'm so sorry. Now I'm like, no, like, I love Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a big part of my life, but like at the end of the day, if it ended tomorrow, I'm still gonna enjoy my life. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, it's just so sad that this $1 million organization, really $1 billion organization, can't run tournaments good. Like the night before the BBG tournament, and unfortunately we had to miss out on it because we took so much effort into this YCS. But really, BBG runs their tournaments so much better. You know what to expect. The judging's amazing. The prize support's awesome.
Oh shucks.
Everything
Shameless
is
plug.
so. It's
Shout
so
outs
like.
to BBG.
I mean, I love the way they run their tournaments, and I hate that I missed their tournament now. After the way that
Yeah.
this YCS played out, I wish I'd have just prioritized their tournament more. Because
Honestly, I feel the same way.
you know that you're getting into a true top cut. He says that his prize support's guaranteed, and he means it. Every time
Yeah.
we go, guaranteed prize support, cash prize support, whatever he says he's giving, he gives 100%. Doesn't matter the attendance. Doesn't matter if 12 people show up or 100 people. And
Yeah.
what's also cool about him,
He gives lunch breaks.
he gives
Yeah,
lunch
lunch
breaks, and
breaks.
he gets better prize support. The more people that come, he's like, oh, he adds more on top of it. Konami, you're like, top 4 prize support. That's all you get. You don't even get a mat for top 8 or anything. Or wait, do they do mats now for top 8? For the top.
I'm pretty sure
think
you
they
at
do.
least get the hamster mat for Ultimate Time Wizard
Yeah.
top 8.
Okay, I didn't know if it was announced because I didn't know anything about it this time. I mean, at least they did the mats, so that's kind of cool. But I mean, you think about what they could be doing, I guess.
Oh,
Just-
they could do much more, and that goes for like all of their tournaments as well. Even the main event, like they could do so much more, like than what they actually do. It's actually embarrassing the price support that they give out for these things. As hard as they are to like top, and like as big as the competition is, it's actually crazy how bad the pricing is.
Yeah,
It-
rumor has it Jesse Cotton has a room with 16 switches in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard that about Hani as well. That he had to like buy another shelf because he had so many switches, which
I
is
mean, it's just-
crazy.
It makes me just want to go to these other tournaments, if I'm just being honest, like these little day tournaments or 2-day tournaments somewhere.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
so much better. I mean, I'd rather
Yeah.
play in highest or something, or go to a tournament that has like a top 12, and everybody's going to get a share of the pie. Like first place might get $500 or $600, all the way down to 12th place that'll at least get $50 or something.
Yeah,
I mean, more enticing to me than just knowing that I have to get top 4 to get a card, or really you got to get top 3 to get a card.
yeah,
If you think, I mean, because 4th place
yeah,
misses out.
yeah.
And
Been
that
there.
only at
Been
top
there.
8 with 187 people. I mean, that's kind of brutal to do. That's kind of hard.
Yeah, it is. You basically have to go X1. Like there's the chance like if you lose in the last round that X2 can get in, but like if you lose X2 early, then there's just no point in continuing, which really sucks. Like it really is just a bad feeling. Cuz like for me, I don't want to go and play in Edison pods. Like I don't need another hamster playmat. Like what am I even doing at that point? But yeah, it sucks, dude. And like I got salty after my last round, day 2, which is a pretty rare occurrence for me to actually get salty at who I played against. But the one thing that I absolutely despise is I don't care, like you put me down in front of like you guys, like Cameron Saunders, Fraser Smith, like any of those guys, okay? And I get like spanked, right? I get hard 2-0'd. It does not bother me at all because I know they're good players. But if you are terrible, okay, I mean actual terrible, and you just like luck your way to beating me, that irritates me so bad. And even more so when they try to like give me advice after the game, I'm like, I don't want your advice. I don't respect you. I don't know. I guess I was just salty, but like I cannot stand to lose to people that just actually don't know how to play the game.
No, I know. I mean, it happens, man, and it's an awful feeling. I mean, what do you do against double whirlwind?
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling, and then like they try to give you advice after the match, and I'm like, no. Like the first thing my guy did was sit down and tell me he doesn't play this format, and I was like, I'll bet anything this guy's a Blackwing player because that's what they always default to. And I was thinking the whole way home, I was like, how do I lose to like because this is a reoccurring thing. I lose to like terrible Blackwing players, but I can go toe to toe with the good ones. And I thought about it today, and I was like, you know why that is because the good Blackwing players will always go for the safe line, the good line that gives them like some kind of follow up, the best chance of winning. where like the bad players will go like whirlwind, sure, I get 2 Boras, special, set my hand, deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, you lose. But if you do deal with it, if I go heavy vortex, then the game's over. But they get wins over on people by just doing stuff like that. When I think that's basically what I've summed it up, is like the bad Blackwing players just go all in completely, and the good ones will do the correct lines and the safest play every time.
No, I completely agree with that and understand. And I mean, it can be frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
It's almost a meme at this point. I mean, you see all the Blackwing memes going around and stuff. I don't feel like there's that many memes for the other decks.
Yeah, like my guy set multiple back row into a known heavy storm, and I was like, why? 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 But I mean, it happens. I mean, it's not the first time I've got 0-dipped by a terrible Blackwing player. It probably won't be the last time. But the event, as far as for me, like, it's very rare for me to have to call a judge, because I just know basically every ruling. Normally it's like if my opponent doesn't know something. Sometimes mandatory effects are weird. Like I had a scenario where I had Iron Wall on the field. My opponent tribute summoned a Caius, and I was 99.9% sure I could still orange light it because the effect does still trigger. We had to call a judge there just to confirm, but I try to always know the ruling so I don't have to depend on the judge calls, because if they give you like an advanced format judge for Edison, then things can go like snowball very, very quickly out of your favor. Crickets. Where'd you guys go? You still there?
Can you hear me?
No, I was listening.
Okay, yeah, you guys like cut out for a second,
Yeah,
but we had this happen. One of our teammates. I'm sorry, Justin. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Caius effects. It still will activate.
Yeah, it still triggers
because it's mandatory.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, our other teammate Austin Wood, who also played Christia Sworn, the exact same list card for card as me, got into a scenario where he wanted to orange light quick draw Synchron, which in Edison format, that card reveals to activate. For whatever reason, that card reveals to activate, because that's how it was ruled at SJC Edison. In actuality, like if you just read like the problem solving card text, it reads like that card doesn't activate. So he called a judge, and the judge ruled that the card does not activate. He calls the head judge. Head judge rules that the card does not activate, because they're just reading the card text. Like they don't know, that card was ruled that way at the SJC. So that was the worst one that I heard of. I don't know. Did you have any weird judge calls, Butcher?
No, I don't actually think I had a judge called on me all day. No, actually I didn't.
Well, that's good. Yeah, like I said, I try to prevent that from happening if I can.
I got a PE minor against me round 4.
Really?
Yeah, so it was a double deck check, me and my opponent. And all it was my sleeves. Like when I double sleeved, I didn't seal the edges. So they were facing the same direction. So I just got a P minor, and I had to, before the 5th round, just get it corrected. So that took a little bit. And then my opponent got one too, because he had a couple cards in his deck that were dinged in the back. But I mean, dude, it was barely noticeable. It was a couple of the old dualities that he had, but you couldn't even tell. And so like, and he didn't see it either of those games, so I don't think it was marked cards or anything like that. But
yeah,
I tell you, the Friday, so I judged the BBG event, and there was a couple weird calls for that, because I judged the advanced tournament and I judged the Edison tournament simultaneously. And a card that was being played in an advanced Dragon Link deck, which I never thought I'd see, was oh my gosh, is it Soul Flare Dragon, the light one, light pulsar,
light pulsar dragon. Yes.
Yeah, so it's a win effect. So when it goes to grave, so it missed timing because it was link summoned.
Yeah.
And it's similar to Duke Frog being tribute summoned. So that was an odd ruling, but there was one in Edison, and when I went over to the table, dude, it was just a big mess. So I get over there. There's a Celestia face up on the field. No cards engrave on the Lightsworn player side. A face up bottomless and like a set card on the opponent's side. There's a light imprisoning mirror. And a face up compulse. It was just a mess. So I was like, what is going on here? So we run the game state. Turns out the Lightsworn player, because Celestia will still attempt to activate, right?
Yeah.
But first off, the Lightsworn player had not declared any targets. He thought that he could compulse his Celestia back to his hand and the effect would resolve. Um, and the opponent was like then trying to chain Starlight Road after the Lightsworn player, uh, after he to the the other person chained Bottomless to Celestia, and then he tried to change Starlight Road to his Bottomless. And I was like, what is going on here? And then the other player was
That's
like, why
quite
didn't
a odd
yeah,
chain.
he's like, I didn't get a target yet, and so he picked his target. This time he only picked one card because he knew his opponent had Starlight Road, which it didn't matter because Starlight Road was a legal activation because Celestia wouldn't destroy nothing,
Yeah.
and it was just a big mess. And so we got that resolved. The Celestia returned to hand with no effect, and the opponent got to keep the Starlight Road, but wasted a bottomless pretty much. But it was just a big mess, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like, come on, guys, this is like round two. Like, you guys can't, you surely can't be tired already.
Yeah.
And then there was another ruling too. It was Imperial Iron Wall. Someone had chained Imperial Iron Wall to the effect of a bottomless trap hole. So explained that situation to them. It's still destroyed, just not banished.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for the judge calls. So the BBG event was actually really cool. It just did go on very late, and I was tired, but overall, like, some very good games going on. Some cool playmats taken away. Shout out to Yggdrasil playmats for those awesome playmats we got. Um, we was able to get them from BBG for retail price, which is awesome. So thank you guys.
Yes, and I had people come by my table the entire day trying to buy my playmat. It happened 4 times. And I was like, no, I don't want to sell my playmat. Leave me alone. You want to buy my shirt with it? So I did manage to make it back home with my playmat that I did not want to sell, but people made it very difficult for me not to sell it because they wanted it. But I'm glad that the BBG event went good, and I feel like the Ultimate Time Wizard could have went much better, but I'm thankful that it didn't do the reverse and go terrible.
No, I completely agree. I think there's definitely room for improvement, but it definitely could have been a whole lot worse than it was.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, we've kind of already talked about it, but like getting a higher top cut would probably make everyone just overlook the rest of the problems, like the starting on time, the judges, how terrible the website that you have to use to register is. Like, I know me personally, like if there was a top 16 cut, you know, obviously if they have the amount of players to get top 16, I wouldn't complain about anything else, like unless it was just something crazy. But I think that's the biggest complaint that people have is like for the size of the event and what it is, just keeping it top 8, I think eventually is going to end up hurting them in the long run.
Yeah, it's going to really scare a lot of players away, and people are going to start thinking, is this even worth it?
Yeah, because Yu-Gi-Oh's it's a game of like you can be the best player and like your opponent opens double whirlwind Shura with like Icarus Solemn, and it doesn't matter who you are. Like the game is over. You've lost. And if it's just their day and they're just lucky, and then, you know, they go second in the next game and heavy you for 3 and then go double whirlwind Shura, like, you know, the game's over. You just got varianced out of the game. So sometimes that can just happen. So like, and then oftentimes too, sometimes your deck can just poop out on you. Like every deck in Edison is inconsistent. Even the ones that are consistent can still just sometimes get a bad hand and have to pass and just get blown out. So I think that, you know, having top 16 to where you could top it if you're X2 would be really beneficial.
I just can't imagine that. And this is the only reason I could think of, right? Is they only do top 8 in these big events like that with the hopes that you drop out and join other events. Like that's the only thing I can think of. But
Well,
at
see,
the
the thing
same
about
time,
it is,
like
like they don't let you get your tickets, so like they don't even encourage like dropping from the event.
yeah, but I think at some point they know that like oh these people ain't going to stick around for a ticket. They're going to want to keep
Yeah,
playing Yu-Gi-Oh. But I think there needs to be a set like here's a certain amount of tickets you get for playing, and you get them like with your slip or your entry packs or whatever. Do you guys even get entry packs?
yeah, we got entry packs.
Yeah, so why not pass out tickets with entry packs and then be like, all right, Top Cut gets an additional amount of tickets to take to the table because obviously, they'll be around to get their tickets because they're Top Cut. And
Yeah,
then like if you drop, okay, well go spend $15 more and come play an Edison side event. Like to me that'd be the smart thing to do.
yeah.
Like
Unfortunately,
up
you just said the reason why they won't do it because it's the smart thing to do.
yeah.
I think the same.
So
I mean, smart just don't go together.
I
Yeah,
will say though,
a lot of people are afraid to like speak out against them. I do not care. I don't care. If I had to live out the rest of my days just going to cash tournaments at BBG, I wouldn't complain because I'm playing for real prizing with like a real top cut tournament experience. So like, yeah, I just kind of just speak my mind about it, you know?
Nah, I completely agree. Like I said, BBG has it going on. I mean, everything about them is just flawless. I don't think there's really been a real complaint, other than somebody getting salty because they lost or something, which is not a real complaint.
Yeah, it's not a complaint against the tournament organizer. It's just a complaint about your own experience, which I get.
Yeah,
I understand. Sometimes I can be a salty little bitch. I'll just be honest about it.
but I mean, their judging's amazing. I mean, the head judge, he kills
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Head judge, like if you like just slip him a 20, he can like rule things in your favor.
no, no.
Justin can be
I'm,
bought. Like
I,
Justin can be
no,
bought. Like
no.
slip him a 20. Like Light Mirror no longer
Uh,
affects Judgment Dragon.
I have. I think it was against. I think it was against you, Butcher. Like I made a judge call, like in support of the opponent. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm not. I've never been biased, but I mean like I don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
20
Yeah.
No,
bucks.
If you couldn't tell, that was 100% a joke.
Oh
And
no no.
Justin's a phenomenal judge for BBG.
I even
This is how broke I am.
said that. I think my phone. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
No, you go ahead.
I for,
Whoever.
oh, I forget who it was on the team, but there was like a dupe frog thing, whatever. And I felt bad too because like it was the teammate. I don't remember who it was. It was playing against a frog player, and they were like, do they get the dupe searches? And I'm like, yeah, they do. And I felt so bad leaving. I hope they win, but you got to be fair because that's the last
Absolutely.
thing I
They're
want us to be considered like
the biased judge.
uh, yeah. But
Yeah, and that's also too like I it's really important when you do have a judge call that you call like for judge specifically. Like I try not to be like, "Hey, Justin," because that to me puts it into my opponent's head like, "Oh, this guy knows this guy." Like this guy, this is his friend. So if he gets a
dude,
bogus ruling,
yeah,
even if it's like just a simple mistake, right? Like you don't think that quick draw activates, right? Because it doesn't read that the card does. Then you could rule it incorrectly, and that guy goes and tells his friends, "Oh, that guy ruled against me because it was his friend." We've all heard that story before.
I think it's smart to be like, if you disagree with a judge because like you just didn't set their friends, there's nothing wrong with like appealing that to another judge. Like you'll get a time extension, and like
Yeah,
if the head judge looks up and was like, no, this is correct, then okay, there's some ease to that. But it never hurts to like appeal the call if you're pretty certain what you're saying is true.
yeah,
So
most
I
definitely.
actually I got lucky because the judges that came over to me were actually really nice. One of them is her name is Addie. She's from the locals I go to up here in Roanoke, and she's actually the one that gave me the PE minor, just doing her job. She was actually really nice. And then another judge walked by and was like, "Oh my God, you're playing heroes," and just watched the match. So like, I feel like when it comes to judges too, I think when it comes to the ones that especially judge Edison tournaments, they can seem to have the like seniority complex or whatever you want to call it, like or superiority. I don't know, man, what the word is, but they have
Yeah,
that
superiority complex.
yeah, they have the attitude because one, they think that the format's inferior, and they're like, "Oh God, like why am I stuck judging a side event. I don't know if that's it. It could be. I don't know. And it's just like all these guys are playing like a simplified version of the game. Like it's just, oh god, I don't want to be here kind of thing. Or they just think that like, okay, I can judge advanced tournaments. Like these rulings are nothing, and then like they just don't know Edison rulings.
Yeah, you get
And
into some complicated chain link with like Light and Darkness Dragon with Doom Caliber Knight, and all of a sudden your head just explodes.
yeah, and I think sometimes they just think that they're too good to be like judging the side events.
Yeah,
And when you ask them for like what we know are simple ruling kind of things, it's like, oh god, they don't know what to do. Then they end up giving the wrong ruling kind of thing too. So I think there's definitely like when it comes to like judges judging Edison, they need more judges familiar with the format.
yeah, I
Like
agree.
I'm
At least the head
yeah,
judge of the Time Wizard event should be like pretty familiar with the rulings of the time, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And one last thing I'll rant about, and there's no point about ranting about it really, but it is annoying. I hate how they use modern procedures for things, and not just the time. Like, I don't really care about time in the round. I've went into time playing Edison like 3 times in 2 years, so like I've learned to play at a very good pace. But I hate how they use modern procedures for stuff like Royal Tribute and Mind Crush. I really hate that. I feel like it actually makes those cards so bad in the format.
Or whenever they try to like read a card and they want to rule it differently than the way it was ruled back then.
Yeah,
I mean, that's frustrating to me. You can't read a card like you do in today's game and try to rule it that way. You got to rule it the way it was ruled back. And I
yeah,
get that the game was advanced back then, and there was a lot of questions going around, and it would be ruled this way one weekend, and the next way it was ruled this way. But in Edison, for that time frame, that's just how we got to rule it. That way, it's fairness across the board. Because if there's
yeah,
not fair, they can rule it this way at one tournament, and then at the next one be like, "Oh no, this is the way this card is read today, so we're gonna rule it this way today."
yeah.
That's just
And I'll take a second here to kind of give Konami some points for one thing, and that's like the invention of problem solving card text, or like if you know how to read problem solving card text, if like there's a colon, it means like that card activates something like trying to think of a card that activates to special. Um, any card effect that activates a special has a colon. Then like semicolons usually come after the cost. So like discard one card, semicolon, all of that stuff. And when you try to explain that to someone that doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh, they're like, "So you're telling me there's a difference between when and if?" But when you look back at like old events, the rulings were so all over the place because it just depended on how that head judge interpreted the card text. So I do think it is a little bit better now than it used to be. But when you're dealing with cards in an old format that have been errataed, and like the effect now is different from the effect then, it's a completely different effect, like something like Bryanak, you can run into issues there. So it would be nice to have a head judge that was very familiar with how the cards work. Oh, so a card like Gore's Emissary of Darkness would have like, if you take battle damage, right, it'd be like colon. So that's why like Gore's activates, kind of thing like that. So I finally thought of an example. It's late. So we're close to an hour. Do either one of you have any closing statements you want to talk about?
I believe we covered everything I kind of wanted to talk about. I really appreciate you having me on and everything.
Of course.
I,
Always
the things
enjoy having these.
I say for the love of the game because I want to see improvement. You know, if we didn't care, we wouldn't speak our mind. So it's not
Yes,
like
I feel the same way.
it's that we want Konami to learn from this, and it's Konami. They're not. They're probably not even going to watch this, just to be honest with you. And if they do, they're
Well,
just good.
yeah, I know that Konami can't give out cash prizes, but that's Kazuki Takahashi's wish. But you can give out some really good prizes that like can be worth quite a bit, right? Like alternate art cards, only given the top cut.
Yeah.
That would be worth money. Customized a customized jersey or something. You know what I mean? Like something
Do
more than
you,
just a
so
game
like,
system.
this is a good question. For winning like Ultimate Time Wizard, right? Getting the giant card. What do those normally sell for? Is it like 3,
It,
4, 5 grand?
for the big one, like this, yeah.
The
So like the
giant one.
second, yeah. So the big giant one, I think, can go like between like 3 to 4 grand, depending on what the card is. If it's a popular card, like something like DMOC or Envoy of the Beginning or Tour Guide, those
Yeah.
can go for like 3 to 5 thousand. But second and third place can go from like $1,000 to 2,500 maybe.
Yeah. So do you like equate more cash value by winning an ultimate, like a giant
You
card,
do.
than you do from winning the YCS?
Okay, I think so. And here's the reason why is like, okay, if you get a trophy, I don't care what it's made out of.
Yeah.
You're going to be hard pressed to sell a trophy, because who wants to buy a trophy they didn't win, right?
Yeah.
Because it has literally no meaning. Whereas a giant card is a display piece. You can convince people all day long that you won this giant card, and it's going to look really good in the room. Um, and then these price cards they're passing out now, they don't have any kind of play in the game. So like outside of like collectability, they don't hold necessarily really any value, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's not like Crush Card back in the day you could sell for 2 grand, or Cyberstein or Shrink or something like
Which
that that had
I
playability.
will say I do like that. Like I don't think that prize cards should be like playable, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
how
but
Crush Card, Doom Caliber Knight, Minerva, all those
how amazing
cards.
how amazing would it be if Konami's like, tell us your favorite card,
Yeah.
and commissioned an alternate artwork that was designated for you. It was like, look, give us 2 3 months, we'll have this card shipped to your front door, and you have a one of a kind playable alternate art card that's only for
Yeah.
you, and you could sell that. You could sell
Mm-hmm.
that and make. You could theoretically make it as worth as much as you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
And the right person could buy it. And I
Yeah.
get you
Even
can't
if
do
they
cash,
did
but like,
like every YCS is a different card, right? So like at this YCS, if you win first place, you get like a 1 of 1 alt art like
yeah,
access code talker, which has specific
yeah.
art specific to that event, and there will only ever be one. That would be really, really cool.
How cool would it be too if Konami was like, look, we can't give out cash prizes, but for winning, we're going to pay your way to the next tournament. I think they do
Yeah.
that. I think they do that to Worlds.
Yeah, they do
Like,
it for
or
Worlds. You get a trip to
yeah,
Worlds.
but or how cool would it be if like, look, we're reimbursing your trip or something like that, or here's, even if you can do monetary like gift cards. I think that sort of bypasses the cash. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, dude, like $1,000 TCG player gift card.
oh
Like
gosh, not even that though, but like, I know they give out uncut sheets sometimes, which uncut sheets actually are nice prizes.
yeah.
There are some tournaments that they give out. I think it's the WCQ. They give out like uncut sheets of like the entire set. Like, here's all the Starlight. No, they give out singles of the entire set, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool too. But they could definitely up their prizes besides a Switch and a prize card for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it for this episode. We went over our tournament experience from YCS Raleigh. Kind of got to rant a little while about Konami's antics, other players, and stuff like that. But all in all, I mean, it's always about the fun. Like the vlog was really, really cool. It was fun to go back and watch and just see. It's at the end of the day, like, sure, I like to be competitive and I like to win, but just getting to travel to events with my buddies, that it's always going to be stuff that you remember. So that's really important, and really why I started the channel in the beginning anyway. Like I created this channel. I said I don't care if I get 5 subscribers or 500,000. Like I want to be able to look back one day and be like, I want to relive YCS Raleigh 2024 and go watch the video. So that's always been my main purpose for the channel, and I always try to remember that whenever I get frustrated or something. So guys, this is Mike, co-host Justin, and co-host Austin Butcher signing out. Until the next one, take care, everyone.